So in EpiPose, we specifically focus on better understanding the transmission dynamics of this pandemic in different countries in Europe, and we also try to assess the impact of different interventions. For this, we use mainly publicly available data, do statistical analysis and mathematical modeling to really estimate and quantify these effects. At the moment, we are very interested in better understanding the impact of travel-associated infections. So these are infections that were likely acquired abroad and then brought back to a country and then can influence the local transmission dynamics. And we are investigating that in more detail with data from Switzerland, but we also look at other countries in Europe. This work is now of particular interest because of the spread of these different new variants that have different properties with respect to transmission or immunity, or whether vaccines protect against them or not. And that's going to be very important to really understand what the impact of international mobility and travel patterns is on the spread of different SARS-CoV-2 lineages. Another project we specifically looked at during the EpiPose project in Switzerland is where we basically provided a proof of principle of the effectiveness of digital proximity tracing. There are these different digital proximity tracing apps that have been rolled out in different countries in Europe. And at the beginning, it has been very important to really understand whether these apps work. And we could show, based on Swiss data, that in Switzerland during last summer, this app indeed was successful in notifying exposed contacts of infected people who then later tested positive for SARS-CoV-2, thereby showing that these apps can be an effective tool in complementing the ongoing classic or manual contact tracing efforts in different countries. For many of us, it's sometimes quite challenging to decide which projects we should focus on, invest time and resources, because there are very many urgent questions that need to be tackled very quickly, also related to policy making in different countries. But there are also many long-term questions because it's very clear that this pandemic is not going to be over very soon. There are very important questions related to the long-term consequences with respect to vaccination strategies in different countries and the development of new variants. And sometimes it's quite challenging to decide which research questions we should focus on, so the urgent, immediate ones, or also the more long-term questions that are related to the basic fundamental understanding of this pandemic. I think what is quite unique with the EpiPose project is that there is a strong influence on science communication and interacting with decision makers and policy decision makers. And I think that's very exciting. It's also very clear that Europe can only successfully deal with this pandemic if the different countries work together. And I think that's really the idea of these projects that were funded by the European Union and our EpiPose project. And therefore it really facilitates the exchange of ideas and projects and creates synergies among our partners from different countries.